safe space. We ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we're taking the quest. Join Tarsha on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Welcome to the Adoption Journey podcast. I am your host, Tarsha Smith. And at this point, Happy New Year, everybody. We're in 2024. And as I promised, we have more stories to tell. And this one, y'all, you're not ready because I wasn't ready. Okay. So I have with me a fellow adoptee, and her name is Patrice Martin. Hi, Patrice.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast to tell the story for those that don't know the story. So I love to start out with my favorite question is, did you grow up knowing that you were adopted?
Yes, I did. I grew up knowing that I was adopted. The word was always used in my home, and my adoptive parents, they always used the word. It wasn't anything that was hidden.
Okay, so early on. And did you have a good childhood with?
Yes.
Okay.
When I was first, entered their home at 5 months, I believe it was. It was a mom and dad,
Okay.
regular upbringing. I was probably about 5 or 6, maybe 7 years old. It does get kind of sketchy there with my memories. But about 5 or 6 or 7, my parents ended up splitting up
Okay.
and getting divorced at that time. But so I was mainly raised by my mom. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you grow up, because you knew you were adopted, did you grow up like wondering, having questions about your birth family, or was that kind of in the back of your head?
I really didn't start to think of it like as another family, I guess, so to speak. This is a good question. Probably until it was like older years, like maybe 9, 10, 11, I would just maybe younger, like say I'm adopted, but that I didn't really think I made the connection that meant that there was like another family, so to speak. It was just like,
Okay.
I think they just wanted to be clear that I really didn't make that connection, honestly.
Yeah,
They just
because
wanted to be clear.
it sounds like it was a normal word for you, adoption.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
yeah. And at what point does the light bulb go off? Oh, there's a whole nother family out there.
Mhm.
And what makes you say, you know what? Let me maybe try and look for him?
Yeah. It wasn't, I have to be honest with you, it wasn't so much in the childhood years that it was like more so. I mean, I think so part of the story, part of my journey is that my parents, I told you, they split up when I was like maybe 7, 6, 7, 8 years old, somewhere around then.
Okay.
And then when I was 13, um, my adoptive father, my father had passed away.
Okay.
So, and that was kind of a shock to the system, in the manner he
Sure.
dealt with some alcoholism, severe alcoholism issues and stuff like that. And so, and had some
Okay.
mental health things going on, and committed suicide. So, at 13. So that kind of, kind
Yeah.
of wondering about yourself. If I had to tell you, like, if I was one of those people that sat there and wondered, like, kind of about another family, I had some, family dynamics of my own that I was kind of dealing with that I really didn't think that much of, that in that context.
Yeah.
I probably thought about, okay, I'm adopted, but I really probably didn't think about looking for another family or what that would mean, probably until I was maybe asked more about it when I was like in my teens, like later teens. And, I would have friends maybe ask me a question like, don't you, wonder where those people are? Or,
And you were like,
Wondering where,
no.
family is. And I'm like, that's a good question, because I never really thought about it.
Ah,
And now that I kind of look at life through the lens of, being more trauma informed, I think when you have things going on and
mhm.
you're not really thinking about it like that. You're
I get that.
thinking, and I didn't even realize that was a even trauma piece in itself for me to consider. It
Right.
just didn't. I'm
I
still,
understand.
learning that.
Me too. Me too.
At 47. So yeah, and these are all very good questions that you have me exploring. But in a nutshell, no, that was not in the first foremost of my mind, probably until um teens later, in 20s.
Because it sounds like you said, you had a lot going on. And what I'm not doing is thinking about anything outside of what's happening right here.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. That's totally normal. So I want to turn the corner when after you back these friends, start kind of bringing this to the forefront, and then
Hmm.
you make a decision one day, okay, maybe I want to do this. Tell me about your adoptive mother. How did she handle that news?
Okay, so that I'll explain the decision the decision to kind of, that's like way fast forwarding. Okay.
Okay, well, let's
So
roll back then.
yeah, yeah. So like I said, I genuinely really never made this connection like to like an actual whole family until mm, and think about it that way. I mean, you knew it, but you like didn't
Yeah.
like, oh, these are people you can search for, probably until my like I said, my mid-20s. And so what happened was I had I remember it distinctly. I had gone to some type of buffet, was going to, go eat and having a really nice dinner one night with my mother, and I was like, I probably should find out some health information because from eating, when you're eating really good food, you start to think, you got that little guilty stuff creeps in, like, oh, I'm,
Okay.
should be, watching when I'm eating, better or whatever. But, it kind of went on, and I think I had some career changes and some stuff, ways that I was growing and learning. And I came back, I was probably about 20, I was probably like 26, 27, years of age. And one night was over my mother's house, and she was like, well, if you have you thought more about wanting to know more about your story, because if you do, I kind of have some information about you
Okay,
that
so
you
I'm
might
going to
want to.
stop you. Hold on, I want to stop you right there. So it sounds like what triggered it was I might need to know some health information.
That was more it. That was more it. It wasn't
Okay,
so much because the, family I had is the family that I knew, and there wasn't,
absolutely.
it really wasn't that much of a longing, so I work with a lot of adoptees, and in our community, and just get network and get to know people. And a lot of people talk about having a situation where they had this longing to
Right.
know people. And I can't say that I necessarily had that then. Um because of that, but that will progress. But yeah, it was more so like the health thing. You hear
Okay.
that a lot too,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Because we
So
get tired of going to the doctor's office and then all that's just blank because I don't know. Like, your medical
yeah.
history. What did your mom have? What did your dad have?
Yeah, and I kind of, now that I think about it, you bring up all these really good things, and I'll have full disclosure and tell you this. The impact of those things is just now, more in recent years, starting to hit me.
I agree because I have the same story. I did it and it was so common. That's just what I did when I went to the doctor's office.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me,
It
but
didn't bother me.
it's
It
not
it
till
didn't.
I started having kids was I like, oh, I
Oh,
should maybe
wow.
find out some stuff.
Yeah, so that was your, and that is not, from what I hear, not to put us all in a monolith or but there's
Yeah.
some common experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we
Mm-hmm.
have when you get in the community and start talking, we start talking and fellowshipping, as I call it, with each other. And
Yeah.
one of them is what you talked about. I never had any biological children. I have a stepdaughter, but a lot of people who do, have children, they say that like that, there's just something that clicked in them when they had their
Mm-hmm.
kids that took them somewhere. And that was there.
Yeah.
Mine happened. We'll talk about later about the experience that I had, but mine kind of happened a little later than that. But back to your point, yes, I got a little bit more curious about it. And she said she had some information that she wanted to share around the circumstances about why I may never be able to find this information, is what she said.
Do
That's,
tell.
so I said, okay, what would that be?
What's this tea,
Right.
Mom?
And what's his tea? And she let me know that, well, part of the circumstances that they knew about when I was about my story is that I was left pretty much in a trash bin and was found. So that's
Stop. Hold on. You
and
can't. No,
when
no, no, no. Stop. Stop.
mhm,
Stop. When you hear that, what
mhm.
goes through your mind?
I originally was like, oh wow, like my initial response was I was where? I have the life that I have now. Like, this is kind of an interesting story about me. Like, what is this? It was kind of like,
Right.
what is this? But then I was like, well, that's sad, but my mom says that I cried. I don't remember like sobbing too bad, but that may be I may have, but that's a tearjerker moment. So I could definitely, see that. But I just was like, wow, if that's the case, then, and I'm living this life, like, this is like a miracle moment. You know what I mean? Like, I thought about it like that.
Absolutely. I love that.
And then I was grateful, and I was, grateful to, be living, the life that I was living. And
Mm-hmm.
okay. So then proceed with that. Now that, she finally, she held that part of the story close to the vest to like 25, 26 years old, right?
Yeah.
And then she did do a thing where she looked for the article, because it was, it was in the news around that time in 76, and we did find an article, which I'll
Okay.
send to you, that was published in a, paper in the town, adjacent town next to Pittsburgh, where I was found and everything. So that was cool. We saw that, and that's all I had for years, right? This
Look,
art.
that's amazing because some people would take that and they would just spin.
Yeah.
But you took that and said, you know what? That is quite the start for what I am now.
Yeah.
And you didn't allow it would seem like in your conversation just right now, you didn't allow it to define you. You
Well,
understood. Or did you allow it to define you
I did.
as it sunk in?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily, it's so funny that I'm just now, and I just I had a, in all full disclosure, earlier today, I had a session with my therapist, and we're doing some work about getting in touch with feelings.
Okay.
So one of the things that I tell people is like, I've always been like this. It's just part of my nature, right? And this is nothing to necessarily correct, or, you're not a project to like work on and correct. It's just part of my personality and who I am. But stuff goes to the head, then it goes to the heart. I'm so grateful that it does go to the heart. I'm not like sociopath or anything like that where I don't feel anything, but I've like processed it with my head first. Like,
Mm.
what does that mean? And I think that's part of has been the very protective mechanism, for me. But
Hmm.
I definitely want to explore like, why is that? Is all of that a good thing? Is all that, should I have been a little bit more reactive to that, which could have uncovered some things, more than
I'm gonna say I'm going to say no. And the reason why I say no is because you responded how you responded.
Yeah.
And it may have been, and some people are very logical thinkers and they start there. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with
Mhm.
that. And like you said, it was probably it's a defense mechanism that you didn't even realize you were carrying around.
Yeah.
So that's probably why initially you didn't spin out because of how you processed. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that
Yeah.
that was just, it's just how it is. It's how it is to this day, you know,
And that's
head heart,
fine.
right?
Yeah.
And so then when I think it really got to the heart, then I started to be able to, ask a little bit more questions about it. And so fast forward, I'm, moved, I'm married now, whatever, and start talking to my husband
Oh, hold
about
on. Stop. I have to ask a question. How long do you carry this? Like you said, fast forward. So like how many years
maybe
do you sit
so
with this?
26, 27. So maybe like about 3, 5 years,
Oh, you
where
better
before
than
I
me. I don't know if I could have sat on that long.
yeah. I mean, I was forthcoming when I found the information with my friends and anybody that can you believe this story? This is crazy. I found this out about myself, but didn't. It's so funny how time goes fast too, and how science and technology work. Because you have to remember
Mm,
at the time that I did this, it wasn't like now you go down to your drugstore or go to a store and get a DNA kit and think, oh,
right.
I'll just get the DNA
So
done.
this is like in the 90s, late
Well, this
90s,
is
early
like in the 2000s,
2000s,
like this is 2004,
early 2000s.
2005, but
Yeah.
it still wasn't
Hmm.
like, as accessible or like household name to
And
just to
probably,
do
and
DNA.
I can, it probably never even occurred to you. Let me just go take a DNA test like it would
Yeah,
right
it
now.
wasn't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am going to tell you um where it started to really creep up. So, all my friends do, my husband knows, whatever, fast forward. And get assigned, I work in grants management, and I've worked in research grants at a major nationally known hospital at the time. And I was assigned the two groups to work with critical care babies and genetics,
Huh. Want me to do it?
unbeknownst to me. So I can read these scientific grants and reading this stuff about genetics and reading these things and about just being fascinated at the power of genes and genetics and how they work in disease and all of that. That's the area where I was in. But I was
Mhm.
like, wait a minute, genetic information. So I remember I went to one of my doctors and I said, hey, I was like, I know this is kind of off the record, but I'm adopted. I was like, do you know if anybody like that does DNA test? Like, what is up with this DNA testing? Like, once you, so she explained the whole mechanics of, okay, once you put, yes, you can do testing, and if other people have done testing, there'll be a match and all of that. She explained the mechanics of it.
Mhm.
But even still, then, like in 2014, when I was like early stages, 2014,
Yeah.
2015, like asking her about it, it still wasn't even as prevalent as it is
Right.
like right now. I would say
Right.
in the last, 5 to 6 years or whatever, it's like different. So anyway, I went on and, just kept working or whatever. And one night, I was home alone. My husband used to work and travel internationally for work, and I just didn't sleep well when he would travel internationally. So I'm up flipping the channels,
Mm.
and
Oh.
um, I'm up flipping the channels, and up comes this show called Long Lost Family. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a show and it's done really well. These people's stories, they tell these people's stories and they actually work to reunite, use ancestry DNA, and they work to reunite people's families on TV. Like, what is this? So it was like a marathon or whatever. I watched it till a wee morning and then went to work. Couldn't get the show out of my head. So at lunch, I took my little sandwich in. I was doing some research, and I sat there and I was like, you know what? And I saw where they had a one-pager casting call. I was like, you know what? I got the copy of that article, and my
Just
story. I was like, let me see what they could do. Now, I literally just was like, it wasn't like one of those things I said in, and then I just was like, oh, I'm thinking about this. I hope they call. I hope they call. I
right,
literally was like, I'm going to send this in. And then I just didn't think about it.
right. Let's see
After
what
I had done it,
happens.
I told my husband, I was like, yeah, there's a show. And I was like, if there's a chance, whatever,
What did
And
he
we
say?
just kind of went on about our business. Now, prior to that, he's very, very nice, like real just jolly type person, just really, really nice. And I was kind of skeptical about, the whole DNA thing years ago. And he was like, well, look at it this way. I was like, because what if I meet people and they don't like me? And, like that's how
Yeah,
you go with your mind. And he was like, but what if they do? And he was like, what if there's more cookouts we can go to?
not the cookhouse.
That's just him.
I
If you have
love
noticed, that's
that.
him. And I was like, okay, so he really, in his lightheartedness is part of uh you know the catalyst, I
Hmm.
should say, for why, um the good part of it, the good side that could come out, because I'm normally like, we get scared when we go, to do things
Yeah,
where that have anything to do with reunion.
I'm the opposite.
Mm.
I'm like your husband, and I need somebody to pull me
More
back.
people to cook out.
I
That's
need somebody
awesome.
to pull my coattail, balance that
So
out, girl.
awesome. I love it. um that is awesome. That is awesome.
Okay, so you get this, you do the casting call. So how you hear back?
So I did. I
Let's
sent
go.
it in, and that was in May of 2018. November of 2018. I get an email back said, we've looked at everything. We'd like to talk with you. And they just did a series of, virtual kind of things. And then she said, okay, I really am interested in your story. I'm going to send you a DNA kit. And that's when it got real.
Oh, how do you feel in this moment when it gets real? Are you still
I was
scared?
like, oh, I'm going to give him my DNA. But then I started thinking about like the legal ramifications, because I was like, what is this DNA thing? And what is it, like, what is this going to be? And I was like, he's like, it's ancestry. Let's just do it. They had partnered with them,
Yeah,
reputable company,
yeah.
do it. So I didn't hear anything for a while, And then in May of the next year, they let me know, yeah, we're still working on things or whatever. Some subsequent months
Oh,
when,
okay. So hold on, because I've done ancestry DNA. So for you, you did it, and somebody else was handling everything. So you
yes,
didn't have
you
the
sign
luxury of
off that
logging on and look.
you
Oh, that
sign
would have
off
drove
that,
me
yeah, that they
nuts.
have the rights to your
Okay,
results.
yeah, I
You
understand.
don't get, they get it.
Right, right, right. So you're just sitting away. Oh, that would have drove me nuts. Okay, so because I need to
But
know.
it really didn't. Again, that logical thing, like after a while, I kept thinking, okay, I gave these people my DNA now. I want to hear something, because if not, then they'd say you can have it yourself. So
Right.
that's more like, so what I was thinking, like,
Okay.
like tell me something so I can either get my own and look for myself or what's going
Or
on.
so when they reach out, what do they say?
They say, we're interested. They never tell you right then because the whole reveal happens on the show. Um, yeah. So it's like, we're interested. Yes, we're gonna proceed with um doing a little, mini documentary on you and your story, and we'll see what we can find out. Are you willing? So yeah, sure. So it happened in a matter of like time or whatever, but August of 2019, um, I'm called in. I called back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We do a taping,
Okay,
and
hold on. Put a pin in that because I got to go back to your adopted mom. Now
oh
is
yeah,
real. Now is real. How
now
is
it's
mom
real. Yeah.
handling all this?
She was like, "Oh, they want to be." Yeah, and I said, "Yeah," and they want. you to be included, to be on it. If you're real, oh yeah, I'm willing to do this. Anything that I'm always here to support you. Anything you're willing to, do. Yeah, this will actually be cool. Be on TV. So
I love
went
that.
along with it.
I love that.
Yeah, so she went along with that, and uh yeah, so was there first day of the taping. It's part of what you see on the show. So we get there, taping, and they have different segments of the show. And at one point, that we take the first day, and at one point, some of the producers and people there kind of, take a hard line that the show is very centered on the adoptee, or the seeker, as they call them. And so, in that moment, I think, yes, there was some filming and she was involved, but they asked me to come back by myself and just kind of focus on my story.
Okay.
And I have other, podcasts that I've been a part of, and I just recently did some information around what power the media has with that, of centering adoptee stories. So that's another avenue we can explore. But in that moment, I will tell you that sparked something totally different. That was the first time that anybody had ever really centered my story in that way. And that clicked on all the advocacy work and all the other stuff that I'm doing now. Because somebody said, no, we're going to center, the story is about you, and we're going to center your life.
You, right.
And yeah. And just to be honest, not in a mean way or whatever, but it really had been all about, you asked about her, the whole adoption thing happened because of my mom's, story. And I'm not here to tell her situation or whatever, but, her needing to adopt, it always centers the adoptive parent.
But I also wanted to highlight the fact that she was supportive, because
Yes.
a lot of adoptees talk about not having that when they set out on this reunification journey. They don't have that support.
Very much not having somebody to show up for them. Yeah. So
right.
in that way, yes, in that way, yes, it's been very, very, very grateful for that, and very supportive. And I won't say, she's not here, to speak for herself, but
absolutely.
Yeah, I won't, elaborate on that anymore. But that was the first time somebody had centers, and in that after that experience, and we'll talk about that later, but that flipped the switch with me
something.
on
and I can see how,
and all of that.
And I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're with the producers. You're back by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens? Have they? Because they haven't done the reveal yet, right?
They hadn't done the reveal. That the next day they did. I'm on the show and I'm interviewed, and they tell me that yes, we have made some DNA matches. The person that is going to show up, that you're going to meet, is your sister. And unbeknownst to you, she's been looking for you for 30 plus years.
And how do you feel?
That was shocking. Like, that was overwhelming. I still get tingly, whoo, that's a cool moment. To know that somebody, but then I'm like, well, wait a minute. If she's been looking for me for 31 years and I've lived 20 minutes away from these people, what is going on? Tell me the rest of this story.
Right.
Yeah. So, pretty much what the story was. Oh, and then she revealed that I also had a biological brother. So my sisters, I have sister, and I have biological brother, and we have the same mom and dad. And that was revealed as well. And so that was cool. I was like, wow, I have siblings. I went from being one to, and then learning that I was actually in the middle, because this person was older than me, and then my brother's younger than me, and all that. How does this whole thing?
So how do you, right, because you kept the first one, gave up the second one, so what?
Yeah. And it more than give up, right? Because most people
more than give up,
right? So it was revealed, that there was a mental health crisis that led to this. then it was revealed that in the article, when you read, you'll see that an anonymous caller, I think she came to her senses and realized what she had done. So she called the police herself and said, if you guys go back there, you'll find this baby. And that's how.
Oh,
Um,
oh, it was her? Oh, wow. Okay. To make sure that somebody went and
mhm,
got you.
mhm.
That's shocking.
Yeah. So then, life goes on and whatever. And I ended up in the hands of my adoptive parents. And that's kind of how my origin started. Um,
Uh,
and
hold on. I want to ask. So, okay, so you get this information. Are you getting this information from the producers or did you get this?
from the person, Lisa Joyner, who was interviewing me. They have
Okay,
two people who are hosts on the show. They're very famous people that in other parts of their life or whatever, but
right.
they are both adoptees. So there's always two stories on the show, and the particular host that was interviewing me tells
Yeah.
me this information, and then the next day, then I got to be reunited with my sister on
Now,
the show.
how
Is what you
was
see.
was that?
That was a very special moment. Like we had a really good conversation. She explained a lot, filled in a lot of the gaps, and was just so grateful just to get the chance to meet me. Then after the taping, just so you know, because a lot of people are like, what? I did get a chance to meet my biological mother that day. She was very ill. So she
Did
was
you?
in a nursing home and they couldn't get in there to do that. And she was very ill. And what I learned back behind the scenes was that the producers were really like, we need to fast track this because we, she had gone out in and out of illness so bad that they were wondering if she was still going to be alive by the time that I met her.
Oh, wow, she
My
was really
biological
sick.
father, it was revealed on the show too that he had passed in 2012.
Right, right. So, so you met your biological sister and your mother all in
Mhm.
one day. How are you feeling? That's a
Oh,
lot.
drained. I went
That's a
straight,
lot.
we went straight from the taping then over there. And when I first met her, I was like, I got about 15 minutes. Like everybody crowded around my husband, my mom, my adopted mom
Yeah.
or whatever, came in the room, wanted to meet her. I was like, guys, I don't have a lot of energy here. And I probably got 20 minutes worth of conversation I can have with her. And I pretty much asked them to leave the room because I had some things that I had to talk about, which I keep close to the vest to me. I don't really share too much, but were able to share some information, and it was a wonderful, wonderful meeting. And I got some questions answered. Of course, you're not going to get all
Not
questions
gonna get them
answered.
all. Yeah.
But she
At
was
least,
very matter of fact about what she had done. And I, told her I wasn't there to, accuse her of anything. And we just
right,
meeting in the minds, peaceful,
right.
graceful conversation.
That's amazing. So, I don't know if you said this or not. Did you meet your brother?
Yes. So months
Okay.
later, I was able to meet my brother months later,
Okay.
and subsequently other family members. And on my dad's side, I have met my two sisters from the
I was
dad's
just going
side
to
as
ask you
well.
about that. Did you connect with
hmm
the other side as well?
hmm hmm
So now that you've connected, is there a relationship?
Yeah, yeah. I just talked to my sister today on the phone. Yeah, I had a really nice Christmas. She threw a really nice Christmas party, and was able to meet with my biological mother. Has all kinds of brothers, like there's uncles and aunts everywhere, and went to a really nice Christmas party, just learning to form some of those relationships still. But I'm closest with my sister, my nephew. She has a little boy, and getting to know my brother as well. So it was it's nice.
So,
It's a slow journey, but it's going.
I want to ask you, as someone, because myself, I've met both sides at this point,
Okay,
and
cool.
I am on my paternal side. I'm just starting to foster those relationships. What has that looked like for you? And I'm asking because there's some people out there that are so scared to do this because they're like,
Mhm.
well, like what you said. But then, like I say, what if you get to go to more cookouts?
Yeah, I mean, it really is like
And
that for
so,
them.
and then
They're
when
just
you, and then,
yeah,
and I think it's kind of shocking when you get there and everyone's so open
yeah. They
and they're like, girl, we've been looking for you. Like,
Mhm.
Is that overwhelming for you? Has that been?
Yeah. So what ended up happening, the first overwhelming piece of that is in December of 2019, 4 months later after I met her, my biological mother passed away. So I saw her twice, and then the next time I had to go to her funeral, and that was overwhelming because I was like, wait a minute, I just meet this person, then they pass away, and I met a lot of aunts, uncles, a whole lot of family. That it was just a lot.
Right, because now you're in a place where everybody is, and it's like, oh, there she is.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's the girl.
But there's such, there's the goodness in the story that, yeah, this person was passing away, they were that sick, and I got a chance to see them a couple times, and then whatever. So there's that goodness, but yeah, there was the overwhelming piece. And I'm still, some of these people, like this just past Christmas, as the second time I'm meeting them, I'm getting to know them. And so, yes, it does. I mean, I'm looking forward to more gatherings and getting to know. I cannot say, I will tell you, I cannot say enough about my sister. Like, as genuine as you saw how she was, like, we just pick up the phone and we just talk today, like, about some
Because
stuff. And it's just like, and that's,
because
I
listen,
know that's fair.
let me tell the family that's watching right now. Y'all go watch this episode. Her sister is now my big sister. She don't even know that. She was that open in that show. She was like, I have missed some birth. It was like, oh my gosh. And this is why people should not be afraid, because you just
Mm-hmm.
don't know what kind of
Mm-hmm.
open arms are waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got teary-eyed when I watched that for you. I was like, oh my God, look at her just right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I imagined, I was like, I bet you that relationship just
Yeah, it is.
took
And it's
off.
just, and we let it go like how it's going to go. We don't sit up there and, like I text her or talk to her just about every day, but it's not like a forced thing. It's just,
Right.
we're both people that realize, like, we didn't have all this time, but we don't
You
have,
got
you
this.
don't have a lot of time. And so it's not a forced thing. It just naturally is. And we had a really good conversation today about things and life and just how we're still moving along,
Yeah.
and it's just, it is what it is, but it is, it is a natural thing. But both of us, I don't think, even because she's very similar to me, like the logical thinkers, like it's, you don't expect for somebody to be like you were, if you grew up in a house with them and were little,
Right.
right? But you expect for 40-year-olds who met to pick up 40-year-olds, and you do have
And
certain
then
things in
you,
common, so you're just building on what that is.
right.
And I think that's what I try to tell other adoptees in the community. Just don't, I'm very, very honest about reunion with people.
Yeah, it's
Before you even do anything, DNA or whatever, you have to have the expectation for yourself about what you're looking to get out of it.
right.
And if they're unrealistic expectations, let's talk about this as a community before you go and do this.
Right.
Because
And
you meeting your family is not instantly going to fix all your problems. It's
no,
not going to, it
not at
a
all.
matter of fact, what
It
we
might
all
add
know,
to it.
it will add to it, in a sense, not that the people are bad, but it's going to add more stuff that you feel and want to figure out, which is okay.
Right. Right. And you have to be, I say it all the time, you got to be ready. If you're going to do this, you have got to be ready, because you don't know what is waiting for you, good or bad. Or
And
you
ready in
just
the
got to be
sense,
ready.
right? Ready in the sense that, like you said, I love how you put that, good or bad. Like, just prepared to know what you don't know, because you don't know, right? You can't be ready for what you don't know.
Right.
So just be prepared that it's a dicey thing. It's like
And
you, just like you getting on a roller coaster. You know, you get prepared. You
that's,
get prepared for the
I
roller
love
coaster.
that. I love that analogy. That's it right there. It's a roller coaster, tick, 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 tick. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you take off, you don't, all the twists, the turns, and all that stuff. And then another reason why you got to be ready is because once you know, you can't unknow.
You can't unknow. you can't see. It's like a train. You
But
can't turn.
know.
You can't turn
You
from it.
can't,
No, I'm just.
right, right.
But
You can't unknow. Whatever you
you
find
can't
out,
unknow it.
you can't unknow. So, yeah. And my final question to you. No,
Yeah.
yeah, because I want people to go watch your story. Even though you have to see it because, like I said, after you're done watching this, you're gonna have a new big sister. I promise you. What would you say? What words of encouragement would you give to our fellow adoptees?
I'd say that so one of the things that everybody knows, if you talk to Patrice wherever she goes, with the work that I'm doing now with the community, is that I believe that we're a movement. We're a community and we're also a movement. So if what you're looking for is community, come on down, come watch your podcast, come to community groups that you mentioned. I've got a host of others that, we can connect you with on Instagram, whatever. Get in community with others because you hear yourself in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. And then if you feel so sparked to join the movement, because there's a lot of and my new word is dismantling, reform, whatever that needs to go on in your little corner of the world, join that too, because that helps with your healing as well. Everybody's not called to that piece of it, but just get in community and be around other adoptees. Get yourself in those spaces because it's really, really going to help. Even if you don't say anything, for you to just hear others and what they're feeling and what they're processing in their life at any age. I've been in communities where there have been people who have been 18 on there, and I've been in communities where there's 65, 70-year-olds processing this thing, and understand that it's a journey and it's a part of your life and it's a lifelong thing. So something else might come up, and that's okay. You're not crazy for it to come up. You're okay. You're okay. You just need the community to surround you.
Community. I love that. And one more piece I want you to shout out before we go, because I know that you pray.
Yes.
Please let the family know where they can come for prayer because I love that.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So, one of my, I have 3 advocacy pillars that I'm working on, but one of them is with, legislation and trying to help inform that. The other is with, looking at the media and how, the media tells our stories because it's important that they get it right. And then the third piece is with the faith community. And so in March of 2023, I was in all these community spaces. And one of the areas that I always knew that helped me get through a lot was my faith. And so I started the Adoptee Prayer the Adoptee, now I've renamed it NPE Prayer Collective. We meet once a month, the third Thursday of every month, normally, in case, I have to move it or something. And we just come. I may give a prompt or of a, something that God's laid on my heart to give to the community to spark conversation around our faith. But we just come and we hold space to pray for each other. And you would not believe what it's like to hear someone pray to God out loud about some of the things that they're maybe burdened with, or some joys that they have or whatever that center around being an adoptee. And you would never believe, but you can come and be quiet. It's a very calming space. But we do pray out loud, and we, think on good things. Someone may share a scripture. Last time for Advent, there were 5 or 6 of us on the line, and we just focused. We just held space for what Christmas really was, and powerful time. But come and adopt. It's at Adoptee Prayers is where I do the postings of when, the time, and the Zoom link, at Adoptee Prayers on Instagram.
And I'll drop that in the description of this video. I want to thank you so much, Patrice. Your story is powerful. And to see
Thank
you
you.
stand in here, yes, you are a walking miracle. period.
Oh, thank you.
I
Well,
love
thank you for
that.
having me. Your platform is awesome, and I
Thank
really, really
you.
do appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And until next time, bye, family.
Journey on. You need a pie with the good? Oh yeah, what is the one?